Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. Thank you so much for watching today. I do appreciate you tuning in. To those of you who have subscribed to the channel, thank you. You guys' support means so much to me. So, uh, everybody out there who has subscribed, who's been liking the videos, commenting, sharing the videos, sharing the links on social media, I really do appreciate you all. Your support is incredible, and just I love being a part of the horror community. So yeah, thank you all again. Today we're going to be talking about a classic. We're going to be talking about Gremlins from 1984. I had not seen this movie since I was a kid. Now, as a kid, I couldn't tell you how many times I watched this film, but I had not seen this movie in years. And I remember when I first started doing my YouTube channel and got familiar with the horror community and started, meeting some amazing people. I kept hearing all this talk about Gremlins, and I was like, really, Gremlins? Like, that's not a horror movie. I mean, I know people say it's a horror comedy, but that just doesn't seem to fit to me. Gremlins is a horror movie. Um, but over time, I'm like, well, maybe we'll see. And yeah, I just decided to give it a watch and talk about it. And yeah, we'll see what I think. Let me get my notes together real quick. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Quick tagline for the film: cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, and dangerous. Uh, Brief synopsis for the movie. I'm sure everyone knows, but brief synopsis. After receiving an exotic small animal as a Christmas gift, a young man inadvertently breaks three important rules concerning his new pet, which unleashes a horde of mischievous creatures in a small town. The film was released June 8th of 1984, directed by Joe Dante, written by Chris Columbus, produced by Michael Fennell, cinematography by John Hora, music by Jerry Goldsmith, distributed by Warner Brothers, a runtime of 106 minutes, $11 million budget, and $212.9 million at the box office. So a huge, huge hit, huge success. Spawned a sequel that I also have not seen in years, but we'll have to go back and watch at some point now. Maybe next Christmas I'll go back and watch Gremlins 2 and talk about it. But huge, huge hit. And again, I remember as a kid absolutely loving this movie. My brothers and I saw it multiple times. One of my brothers had a stuffed animal that was Gizmo. It was marketed. There were Gizmo and Gremlins and stuff just all over everywhere. Yeah, just a huge thing back in the 80s. Excuse me, long day at work. So let me go right there and we'll talk for a moment about cinematography, score, story. Um, the cinematography is good for this movie. I think it's shot pretty well. I think things hold up pretty well for this movie. Going back and watching this and having not seen it for so long, I still like the look of the Gremlins. I think they look pretty cool. They do look pretty creepy. I'd kind of forgotten how creepy they look. Gizmo's cute. I mean, we all know that Gizmo's cute, right? And he's fun. But yeah, I like the look of the small Christmas town. I know I've said it multiple times here lately when I'm doing these Christmas movies, but I really like Christmas horror, especially when it's in the snow. So having this, small, it looks like this perfect Christmas town, right? Just the snow and the decorations that we see and just the way everything is set up, like it just looks like this perfect little Christmas town. I think we get a lot of good shots. I think cinematography is definitely a plus. Everything still holds up very well, still looks good. Special effects are good. Everything's great. The score, I mean, the Gremlins theme is so well known. I mean, it's somewhat iconic, I guess. I'm trying to. Other than that, I think the score's fine. I mean, again, I love the theme there. Um, the score does what it needs to do. I like the story. I think the story is really cool. I forgot how fun this movie was, but there were some other things I had forgot as well, and we'll get into that here in a few minutes. So, I enjoy the cinematography, the score, and the story. Cast for the film, I'll just name a few names: Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates, Hoyt Axton, Polly Holliday, Francis Lee McCain. I'll talk for a moment about cast and characters. As far as the cast, I think everybody does an exceptional job in this movie. I really don't have a problem with the performance of anyone. I think everyone does very well at what they're asked to do in this movie. Seeing Polly Holliday in this role as Mrs. Deagle, um, The only thing that I knew her from when I was a small child, my grandmother really liked the TV show Alice. I don't even know if anybody watching this episode knows what Alice is, but there was an old sitcom called Alice, and Polly Holliday played a waitress named Flo. And my grandmother was obsessed. She just loved Flo. She loved that character. That's all I knew Polly Holliday from was this character of Flo. So to see her in this role, I remember as a kid being like, "Wow, that's her." Going back now and watching it, I'm like, she does a great job with this character. So she was a very good actress. I don't know what else she did other than star as Flo and Mrs. Deagle and Gremlins, but yeah, great actress. And again, I think everybody does a really good job in this movie. You know, back in this time frame of the 80s like this, I was 12 years old when this movie came out. I think every boy my age probably had a huge crush on Phoebe Cates. She does, but again, she's a good actress as well. She gives a good performance in this. Zach Galligan is good. Yeah, I think everybody does a good job. And you know, with the characters, I think everybody's pretty likable, with the exception of Mrs. Deagle, and you're not supposed to like her. You know, the character Billy is good. Phoebe's character, Phoebe Cates, plays Kate, another good character. The Billy's mom and dad are fun. His neighbors, I'm totally drawing a blank on their name right now. They're funny. They're good. Um, Corey Feldman is in this movie. I forgot the character's name that he plays. He's kind of the one that spills the water on Gizmo initially. Trying to find his name real quick. Yeah, I'll get Peter. There we go. Yeah, I guess he's fine. I mean, he's there. There is a kid, Judge Reinhold, also in this film. He plays the bank manager, I believe, or someone like that. He's not the best, but the cast, the main cast, I think is pretty likable in this film. The main characters and the cast, everybody does a great job. So good scores there as far as I'm concerned as well. As far as behind the scenes thing for this film, I got a few things here. I mean, the movie's so old, there's a lot out there, but just a couple of things that I wanted to mention as far as production notes. One being the idea of Gremlins was first conceived in the 1920s when mechanics in a aircraft, mechanical failures in an aircraft were jokingly blamed on small monsters and they started calling them gremlins. And there's even a scene here when the one neighbor mentions gremlins messing up his tractor or something to that effect. But I guess that's where gremlins originated. The writer for this film, Chris Columbus, came up with the script when he was just living in a small loft. And at night, when it was pitch black, he would hear what sounded like, he said, multiple mice running around in the darkness. And that's where he came up with this script idea for Gremlins. He wrote it primarily just to prove that he could write something. He never intended for this to be filmed until Steven Spielberg found it and took an interest in it. And of course, that changed everything. But the first script was much darker. That definitely, from just some of the things I read, would have made this a horror movie if they would have gone stuck with some of the things that was in the original script. It included Billy's mother being decapitated by the gremlins. It included the gremlins eating Billy's dog. And it also did not have the character of Stripe as a separate gremlin. Gizmo was going to become Stripe in the original script, but Spielberg didn't like that because he thought the character of Gizmo was so cute and so fun that he thought the audience would appreciate having that character to be kind of the opposite of what the Gremlins were. And so things got changed there, but that would have definitely made this a very different film. And I don't know, I'm sure it still would have been somewhat popular, but Gizmo was such a iconic character. I don't know how well this movie would have done had they not changed that. So the most interesting thing, though, that I found is when I was looking at all of the people who auditioned for the role of Billy in this movie. Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Ralph Macchio, Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Judd Nelson, all auditioned for the role of Billy. But the unknown at the time, Zach Galligan, won the part due to the chemistry he had with Phoebe Cates. In fact, Steven Spielberg made the comment when he was watching them audition together that it appears that Zach is already in love with her. So that's how he got the part, was based on his chemistry with her over a group of actors who, I mean, during the 80s, these are some big names. These are some up and coming stars that were in a lot of big movies. So congratulations to Zach for hitting it off with Phoebe to get this role, right? So pretty cool thing I thought there. I had no idea that some of those big name actors had auditioned for that role. Let's go ahead and get into the plot and start walking through this a little bit. Um, I probably won't cover an immense amount of detail just because I feel like this movie is so well known. Going back and watching it just last night to prepare for this, um, I was shocked how much of this movie I remembered because, again, I have not seen this since I was a child, but I was shocked at how much of this I remembered. But I was also shocked about some things I forgot, and we'll get to those as I go through this a little bit. But we open the film with Rand Peltzer, who is the struggling inventor. He's in Chinatown, and this small boy is trying to lead him to his uncle's shop. Rand has kind of got two things going on there. As he starts off with a little bit of narration, and he's trying to sell some of his inventions, but he's also keeping an eye out for a Christmas present for his son Billy. In this small shop, he tries to sell them the bathroom buddy. So funny, I did remember that. Um, but he finds a mogwai and wants to buy this mogwai for his son, and the owner doesn't want to sell. I believe he offers like $200, and the owner says the mogwai is not for sale. But the grandson catches up with Mr. Peltzer after the owner walks away, his grandfather, and basically says, look, he's being crazy. We need this money, so yes, we'll sell it to you. But there's 3 rules you have to remember. You have to keep it away from light, especially sunlight. No contact with water whatsoever. And then the most important rule, do not feed the mogwai after midnight. Stop there for just a moment. So yeah, I think this is a good opening scene. I pretty much remembered absolutely everything about this opening scene. We get the rules established, and we kind of get our setup. We see, actually, we don't get a look at Gizmo here that much. We more just hear him. But the inventions are funny. We get the setup. We get the rules. It's an opening that, while maybe it's not mind blowing, it still serves its purpose and is pretty well known, I think. And again, the whole bathroom buddy thing was cracking me up. I remembered that, but just watching him try to sell it was funny to me, just going back and remembering seeing that when I was a kid. From there, we kind of get the introduction to the town of Kingston Falls. We meet Billy, who works in a bank. He's got his dog with him. We also meet Kate, who is Billy's girlfriend. She works in the bank as well. We meet a few other characters. We meet Mrs. Deagle, who has a lot of money and apparently a lot of influence and pull on the town, and she's not happy with Billy and his dog. She says his dog tore up some of her Christmas ornaments, and she wants the dog turned into the pound. Says if she catches the dog, she's going to kill it. The dog ends up, we have the little incident in the bank there where Billy's got the dog there in the bank with him, and being afraid of Mrs. Deagle, the dog, takes off running, and Billy gets in trouble. And then after Billy gets home, we see some other fun inventions that the dad has made that aren't working very well. But then the dad does show up and gives Billy the mogwai, and basically it's the dad that says he's just been calling it Gizmo. And so then we really get our first look at Gizmo, and yeah, still all these years later, Gizmo's a cute little character there, and it's fun. And getting to see Gizmo and get that introduction. So I think this is this part here, we're getting more of a setup, but now we've been introduced to our primary characters of Billy and Gizmo. A lot of fun. I think at this point was like, okay, this is kind of what I remember about this movie. The dad being funny with the inventions, Gizmo being cute, Billy having issues with Mrs. Deagle. I remember all this. I remember it being a fun family Christmas movie. So I still don't know where the horror comes in. I know the Gremlins are coming, but really this is horror. Like, I was still thinking that last night when I was watching this. But from there, things start to change up a little bit. Billy's friend Peter comes over. He ends up accidentally spilling water on Gizmo, and then 5 more mogwai end up springing from Gizmo. These are much more mischievous than what Gizmo is. They turned out to be led by one of the mogwai that has this like white mohawk that Billy starts calling him Stripe. He tells his dad about what happened. He also ends up then taking one of the mogwai to his former science teacher, and they do a little experiment there where they create another one and let Mr. Hansen, the science teacher, is going to run some tests and see what he can find out. And then we get some time with Billy and Kate. And here's where I feel like some things that maybe just didn't click when I was a kid and watching these movies. But as Billy's walking Kate home, they're talking about Christmas, and Kate makes comments about Christmas being a miserable time. She's not a fan of Christmas, that it's a miserable time for a lot of people. She's talking about how while some people are opening presents and just having a wonderful time, other people are putting a gun in their mouth. I mean, it's a fairly dark conversation that I just did not remember from being, again, maybe when I was a kid, that kind of stuff just went over my head. But as I'm watching this, again, while this doesn't jump out as being horror, I'm like, wow, okay, there is a kind of a dark side to this movie that I didn't really remember. And a lot of it coming from this character right now, just talking about the other side of Christmas. And unfortunately, that's true, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that absolutely love Christmas. It's an amazing time for family and friends and people giving gifts. And, if you're religious, there's a big part of that to the holiday. But there's a lot of people who are struggling at Christmas, who maybe don't have the family and the friends or the finances or homes. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that are going on in this real world that's 10 times more terrifying than what happens in a movie. But there is a dark side to Christmas that some people have to deal with. And I think this movie is mentioning that here a little bit. And it kind of sets a tone here, I believe, is what really is beginning to happen with this scene. From there, the Mogwai end up tricking Billy. They eat the wires or bite the wires in two or something on his clock where it doesn't read correctly, and he ends up feeding them after midnight. At the same time, Mr. Hansen, who is, run a few tests on the one Mogwai that he has, he decides to call it a night, but he leaves food within reach of the one that he has, so it's able to eat after midnight as well. And then the next day, Billy wakes up to find these very odd-looking pods in his room. There's also a pod at the school where Mr. Hansen's a teacher. And a little bit later on, as these pods start to hatch, then we get our destructive little reptilian monsters that we know as the Gremlins. And I think this scene still looks really good. I think the effects and all here of these pods and these pods hatching and the Gremlins coming out, I think still holds up and still looks really good. I'm amazed at how well this movie holds up, all these years later. I mean, this again came out in 1984. We're talking about 40 years, basically, 41 years, I guess. And it blows my mind how well this still held up and how good some of this stuff still looks in this film. They did an outstanding job. And the monsters, the Gremlins, I mean, yeah, they would be scary to have to deal with those things. I mean, watching them on TV, no, they don't scare me. But, if I had to deal with some shit like that, I'd probably be terrified. They look good. The one Gremlin that's at the school, he ends up killing Mr. Hansen. We get our I think that's actually our first kill, if I remember correctly. The other Gremlins back at Billy's place are torturing Gizmo and kind of make you feel bad for Gizmo. There's a scene there where it looks like they've got him pinned to a dartboard and they're throwing darts at him. And while what we see is a lot of darts missing, there are a couple of darts that have got Gizmo pinned to this board, and you kind of feel for Gizmo a little bit. It's kind of sad watching Gizmo go through some of this. Billy's mom ends up hearing a lot of this go on, and then we have some amazing classic moments. She ends up battling some of these Gremlins. She kills one in a mixer. She blows up one in a microwave. She stabs another one. Billy ends up coming home. It looks like one of the Gremlins is about to get the jump on her, but Billy ends up coming in, and then he's able to just get rid of the other Gremlin. But Stripe is still left, and Stripe escapes. And then, Stripe makes it to the YMCA. Billy tries to pursue him, but Stripe was able to get to the YMCA, jump into a pool, which is now going to create hundreds of Gremlins. Again, through all of this, I like the way the Gremlins look. I think there's still some very fun scenes, but, we get our first kill with the science teacher being killed. We get to see Gizmo tortured a little bit. We see the mom have the battle, and even though her kills of some of these Gremlins is a lot of fun, we do get a little bit more of a little bit darker and a little bit more violent. Again, this is nowhere near like what we see in a lot of other things, but for 1984 and being a somewhat family film, some violent things going on. And this movie's working for me. Like, I was really surprised how much I was enjoying this last night. To be honest, I really expected to watch this movie and come out of it thinking, yeah, that was okay, but nowhere near as good as I remember as a kid, and I don't get the hype now. But this movie's still a lot of fun. I really was still enjoying this film and enjoying this rewatch after all this time. Um, from there, Billy tries to warn the police about the gremlins and what's going on. We get this army of gremlins that are basically attacking the town. You see several locals get attacked, and some of these attacks are pretty rough. They would be considered scary, I'm sure, especially for kids to see some of this stuff. Miss Deagle gets killed in a hilarious scene where she gets in her wheelchair that's attached to the wall and is supposed to take her up the stairs, but they messed up the wires and it was flying up the wall and she goes out the window. This movie does a great job of mixing in some creepiness with the gremlins and some of the things that happen and the attacks that we see, a few kills here and there, but then also some moments that still really land all this time later with a comedy. So again, I was fully on board and really enjoying what I was watching last night with this film. Billy ends up going and rescuing Kate. She also works at a bar part-time, and she is basically surrounded by gremlins in there. Again, we get some good comedy here with seeing the different types of gremlins. We've got gremlins playing cards, we've got gremlins dancing, we've got gremlins drinking and smoking, and it's pretty amusing. And I guess you could say it's silly, but it's still a lot of fun watching this and watching Kate try to interact and avoid being killed by these things. Billy shows up and saves her. And then they end up going back to the bank, I believe is where they go. And again, we get more of this dark side of the film coming in as Kate explains to Billy why she hates Christmas and her father dying when he had tried to surprise the family by dressing as Santa and coming down the chimney with presents, but falling and breaking his neck. Again, we get this, sad, horrible, dark story in the middle of this movie. And I think by this point, I'm like, you know what? I get it now. I get why this is a horror comedy, because it's absolutely hilarious at times, but there are some pretty dark times in this film. Some creepy times, the creatures are a little creepy at times. So I finally get it now. I understand why Gremlins is a horror comedy. The Gremlins end up going to the theater. It's just getting close, Billy says, for the sun to come out. It'll be daytime soon, and so the Gremlins are trying to go into a dark place. Again, another funny scene where all these Gremlins are packed into this theater, and they're watching Snow White, and they, are having a blast and singing the, hi-ho thing. We hear Gizmo singing hi-ho as he and Billy and Kate are trying to find a way to destroy the gremlins while they're in the theater. Billy ends up causing an explosion that does kill all of the gremlins that are there in the theater, but one has already left and had gone over to a department store, and that was Stripe. So Stripe is still out there. And, Billy and Kate and Gizmo go after Stripe. In this department store, we kind of get some fun things, a little cat and mouse between Billy and Stripe a little bit. Stripe makes it to this fountain where he plans on, getting wet and again forming more gremlins. And just when it looks like it's going to work, Gizmo, driving this little toy car, ends up saving the day, comes flying through the screen and opens up some blinds where the sunlight comes in and hits Stripe and ends up killing him. And it's kind of gross, Stripe's death there. It looks good, but it's a little gross. So Gizmo saves the day. After everything is over, Billy and Kate are back at Billy's house with his family. They're watching the news about, everything that's happened. And Mr. Wing, the gentleman who owned the shop there in Chinatown at the beginning where Mr. Peltzer got Gizmo, shows up. And, he gets onto the family for not abiding by the rules and for everything that's happened and is taking Gizmo back. And then, of course, we get the little heartfelt moment where Gizmo wants to tell Billy bye, so he does. And then Mr. Wing tells Billy that maybe someday he will be ready. And that's it. That's Gremlins from 1984. Again, I was surprised how much fun I had with this, watching this last night. I'm sure a lot of it was a nostalgia thing. I mean, I did remember as a kid seeing this in the theaters with my parents and my brothers. I remember watching this, not just around Christmas, but, just here and there with my brothers and, my parents and having, those family moments and how much fun we all thought this movie was. Again, I think we went to the movies multiple times to see this, to be honest with you, if I remember correctly. So those, nostalgia plays a big part of this. But again, I'm so surprised at how well a lot of this holds up, at how good a lot of it still looks, how much I still enjoy Gizmo after all these years, how great the Gremlins look. I just think so many things in this movie hold up so well. It's so much fun. I've talked about before, I'm not a huge fan of horror comedies, but I like this one. The comedy lands here in this movie. It works. It's very funny. Um, I get a few good kills here and there, some creepy moments, some very dark moments. This movie's got a little bit of everything, and I think it works as a horror comedy. For my scale of 1 to 10, I really thought when I started watching the movie, like I'm going to end up rating this movie right in the middle, very mid, a 5, a 6, something like that. But I really enjoyed this watch last night. I absolutely did, and I think that like I said, I haven't seen it in years, but I think along with like Black Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night, Krampus, this is probably going to become a movie that I watch every year at Christmas time going forward. I've got it on 4K now, and it's still so much fun, so much fun. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Gremlins an 8. I really enjoyed this movie. It's really good. I think it holds up well, and I'm still a fan after all these years. So I want to know what you think about Gremlins. Do you still love it? Is it the classic that you remember? Has it lost something for you? I feel like everybody's probably seen it, but leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about Gremlins, and where it ranks for you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I've got some great stuff coming up as we get ready to wrap up Christmas. Next week, I've got 3 episodes coming out that are still on Christmas horror. Another horror comedy, Jack Frost. I will also be talking about The Mean One with David Howard Thornton. And then my friend Aaron from A&B Horror Movies is going to be on, and he and I are talking about the original Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. That episode actually will come out the day after Christmas and wrap up, this all this Christmas stuff that Christmas horror that I've been going through, and then we'll jump right back into some other stuff from there as we end December and get into the new year. So, a lot of fun stuff coming. Be sure and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. I have a letterbox. Just search Sean's Horror Corner. You should be able to find it all there. I do try to follow back as much as possible. Hit the like button for me today. Hit the hype button. Help me continue to grow and promote this channel. I've got some very big things coming. I think they're big things. Some new things coming next year that I won't get into just yet. I'm going to wait till we get a little bit closer because I'm trying to pin down some exact dates. But a lot of fun stuff coming next year. So help me continue to grow the channel. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will be back tomorrow with my review of episode 8 of Welcome to Derry and wrapping that up. And then next week, again, Jack Frost, The Mean One, Silent Night, Deadly Night. So good stuff coming. I will see you soon.